There's almost a demon mode of Elon Musk where he turns really dark. And that can be very problematic, especially when it came to acquiring Twitter.
His four big companies had grown rapidly to become worth billions. Tesla reaching $1 trillion valuation, one of the most valuable companies on Earth, revolutionizing the car industry. And by January 2021, these successes has skyrocketed Musk to become the world's richest man, according to Forbes Billionaire Tracker. But don't be fooled. For Musk, this actually isn't an ideal situation. The guy is addicted to conflict and crisis and tension and drama. And being the world's richest man with all these successes was uncomfortable. He needed a new storm to throw himself into. And so he chose the storm of all storms. He buys Twitter for $44 billion. In his offer letter, he tells us why he's doing it. He believes that Twitter has the potential to be the platform for free speech around the globe, and that free speech is a societal imperative for a functioning democracy. And right away, Musk applies his playbook to the company, sending out a midnight email telling the thousands of employees that there's going to be a new Twitter culture that is, quote, extremely hardcore, long hours, high intensity, and tells anyone who wants to stay to fill out this form or be fired.
Thousands of Twitter employees are being laid off.
Locked out of their work email accounts, Twitter has fired half of its 7,500 staff.
So first and foremost, free speech is like the thing he says over and over.
Free speech? Free speech. Free speech.
Free speech is the only way that humans are going to thrive, and because Musk's main mission is the advancement of human civilization, he must buy Twitter and make it the free speech platform. The platform where we have perhaps the most important conversations in the world. He says this over and over, like in this tweet where he says, this is a battle for the future of civilization. If free speech is lost, even in America, tyranny is all that lies ahead. So that's number one on what he says his motives are. It feels like the story went from quirky visionary engineer uses his brilliant, unorthodox, socially immature tactics and obsessions to accomplish unprecedented engineering feats, to said quirky engineer suddenly dedicates his brilliant mind away from physics and towards social media, because he believes that there's a deep state conspiracy between San Francisco technologists infected with liberal bias and their censoring government overlords, and he is going to fix it. What happened? After firing most of the employees and changing the name to his favorite letter, he gets to work on free speech. He lets big accounts that were previously banned back onto the platform, including former President Donald Trump, comedian Kathy Griffin, lawmaker Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jordan Peterson. Within a few months, he posts this tweet around the Super Bowl, and he notices that this tweet gets less engagement than the tweet by President Joe Biden. Elon does not like this. He calls an urgent meeting and tasks 80 engineers to quickly rebuild a version of the algorithm that will allow his tweets to be artificially boosted by a factor of 1,000. I was kind of skeptical on how sensational it was reported, but through my conversations confirmed that this actually went down. Like, the old Twitter was not built to artificially boost one account, and Elon, the free speech guy, was like, I need you to boost my account because it's not getting as much attention as the president. And the 80 engineers did. So a few months after buying the company, Elon now has super algorithmic power, and he uses it to start to amplify certain people. So I know what you're thinking. Johnny, you just disagree with these people, and so you think that it's bad that Elon let them on, but really, free speech is about letting everyone talk. Yes, absolutely, that is true. And yet, Elon uses an artificially amplified voice to prop up a very specific type of voice on Twitter, to amplify ideas, extreme ideas, harmful ideas, not just to liberals in San Francisco, but ideas that we as humanity recognize are bad ideas. And now, someone with a massive megaphone has control on how big those ideas can get. Even Bill Maher, the Elon fanboy.
There's a very few people who actually make change happen. You are one of those people.
Even he could not understand why Elon was doing this. Musk's new Twitter then starts banning and suppressing Substack links. Substack, the place where independent journalists write. Musk made the change where you can't comment or like on anything that has a Substack article, and you can't embed tweets in your Substack article. That doesn't feel like free speech to me. Musk then decides that the word cisgender is a slur on Twitter and threatens to ban people who use it too much. is that free speech? He then starts banning journalists who criticize him, though he did reinstate a few of them after a vote. And then starts suing media watchdog organizations, like the Center for Countering Digital Hate, trying to silence them for criticizing the new Twitter. Musk, of course, lost, with the verdict coming out saying that this lawsuit was basically about trying to silence criticism and deter others from criticizing his company.
He's someone who is willing to use his enormous wealth and power to silence people.
Like, this is such clear anti-free speech behavior. When Twitter users organized a protest against making users pay for a blue check mark, he banned that account. And this is what's so mind-bending. Like, I swear he's trolling us here. He says that he's obsessed with free speech, but then immediately after taking it over Twitter, he demonstrates an extreme hypocrisy for that very point. And I secretly think he's doing that so that we are talking about it right now. I don't think it was ever about free speech. I also think that when he posts political propaganda ads, like this conspiracy video that says that Democrats are letting immigrants in to turn America into single-party rule, and has almost 100 million views, I think he's doing that not because he agrees with this factless piece of propaganda, but because he loves to rile people up. Though maybe he does agree with it, I don't know. Either way, he has built a platform that gives him the biggest megaphone and suppresses people that criticize him. That is not free speech. Okay, but let's move on, because free speech was just one of his three major motives. What about this argument that Twitter is infected with liberal ideology because it is based in San Francisco? Luckily, we have data. This was a great study, very thorough. Algorithmic amplification of politics on Twitter. It's a study from before Elon took over. They conducted a long-running, massive-scale randomized experiment where they looked at a huge number of tweets from 7 countries. And they found that in 6 out of the 7 countries, including the United States, that, quote, the mainstream political right enjoys a higher algorithmic amplification than the mainstream political left. They saw this over and over. Oh, and also a really interesting side note here is that they found that Twitter actually doesn't amplify far left or far right political groups more than moderate ones, which is a myth that I believed until I read this study. But the whole point is that old Twitter did not have a liberal bias. If anything, it had a conservative bias. This study is very robust proof of that, despite Elon's theory that Twitter being in San Francisco infected it with a liberal bias. Musk believed that Twitter was being censored by governments, and Twitter was letting them do this. And guess what? That is actually true. Upon taking over Twitter, Musk cracked into all of the internal communications and found a bunch of emails that showed how Twitter had banned and suppressed information that it deemed harmful and dangerous, but that they did so sometimes with a political bias. You can see things like Biden's team asking Twitter to review these tweets that they didn't like. Yes, governments around the world can ask Twitter to take things down in their country that they think are breaking the law or that are harmful to national security. And this happened on both sides. The Trump White House asked Twitter to take things down as well. But this reporting did reveal what looked like a lot of left-leaning bias in censoring certain highly sensitive content that would be damaging to the left. But look, Musk's Twitter now says yes to government censorship over 80% of the time. Way more than the old Twitter. Wait, what? And look, the kind of stuff that Musk is allowing to be censored on the platform is really sensitive stuff for free speech. Like, take Turkey, for example. There was a Turkish election last year. The president of Turkey, himself a massive user of state censorship, pressured Twitter to block the accounts of a few people he didn't like. A Kurdish businessman, an investigative journalist, both of them vocal critics of the president. Like, this is like clear black and white political censorship in an election year. Like, make the guy who is criticizing me go away. And guess what? Musk's Twitter did it. They said yes. They banned the accounts and then said, we didn't have a choice. They were going to shut down all of Twitter, so we had to do it. And then they patted themselves on the back about how they were still trying to fight it. And they're doing so much for battling government censorship and transparency on the platform. But guess what? They did have a choice. This same kind of thing happened before Musk ever came in, and Twitter fought back. In a previous Turkish election, the government tried to do the same thing, censor posts about corruption within the Turkish government. They asked Twitter to take these down, and Twitter said no. They fired back that political speech is among the most important speech, especially when it concerns matters of possible corruption. So, Turkey shut down Twitter. It was down for a couple of weeks while they battled it out in court, and the Turkish government lost. Indeed, they lost because they were trying to censor political speech, and Twitter fought back. There's even more recent examples, like Wikipedia, or Wokepedia, as Elon calls it, refusing to comply with the Turkish government's censorship requests, getting completely shut down for almost 3 years, only to have it be overturned in Turkish courts. A major win for free speech in Turkey, which is something that's in short supply lately. So like Wikipedia, Twitter can do this. They can say no to the Turkish government. If they're actually crusaders for free speech, and if they're actually against government censorship, they would have said no. And what blows my mind most is that in the process of all of this, Musk is undermining his own dream, his own vision. This is a sentiment I heard from the employees and colleagues of Elon Musk. They felt betrayed, like this man pushed them to think differently, to do things that seemed impossible, all in the name of this grand vision of what humanity could be, what we could do as a civilization. And yet, in recent years, he seems to be sabotaging that very vision, alienating the people and customers that he needs to bring this vision to life. In my mind, Elon has exchanged that vision for controversy and division that forces all of us to talk about it. Here we are, talking about it, talking about him. I think a part of him loves that, or needs that. And yet, after all of this, defenders of Elon will continue to argue that only someone like this could be the one to change the world.
To anyone I've offended, I just want to say, I reinvented electric cars and I'm sending people to Mars in a rocket ship. Did you think I was also going to be a chill, normal dude?